Evan had only come to the alien marketplace for one purpose: to buy a cow for his small human village. He walked with quiet steps across the dusty ground, holding a small bag of coins and thinking about nothing more than feeding his people for winter. The market was alive with noise, strange alien traders shouting prices, animals making unfamiliar sounds, and bright lights blinking from stalls of food, tools, and jewelry. Evan had visited this place many times before, but today felt different. He felt something heavy in the air, something he could not name. He moved toward the animal pens, hoping to finish his work quickly. But just as he reached the first pen, a soft sound touched his ears. It was not the sound of animals, not the crowd, and not machines. It was a cry. A fragile, shaking, lonely cry. He froze. The sound came again, small, choked, full of pain. Evan slowly turned his head toward the back of the pens, where shadows gathered between wooden posts. And there, half hidden behind a stack of empty cages, he saw a little alien girl sitting on the ground. Her knees were pulled to her chest, her arms wrapped around them, and her face buried between them. Her whole body trembled as she cried. She looked no more than 8 or 9 years old. Something inside Evan squeezed. He took a careful step closer. "Hey, are you all right?" he asked softly. The girl did not look up. She only hugged her knees tighter, as if expecting someone to hurt her. Evan crouched down a few feet away, keeping his voice gentle. "I'm not here to harm you. I only want to help." Slowly, the girl lifted her head. Her eyes were large and bright, shaped differently from a human's, glowing a faint blue from tears. Her skin was pale silver, and faint lines on her cheeks shimmered like tiny crystals. She looked at Evan with fear, real fear, but also something else. Hope. A very small, very weak hope. She whispered, voice breaking. "Today was my mom's last day alive." Evan's breath caught. He didn't know what to say. The girl took a shaky breath and said again, a little louder, "She died this morning. Nobody helped her. Nobody even looked at us." Evan felt something sharp twist in his chest. He had seen pain before: animals injured, neighbors sick, but the pain in this child's voice was deeper. I'm sorry," Evan said softly, but the girl shook her head. "Sorry doesn't matter. They don't care. They never cared." Evan glanced around the marketplace. To his surprise, several adults nearby heard the words, but they didn't react. They turned away, pretending to focus on their work. One shopkeeper even pulled his stall curtain halfway down, avoiding eye contact. A group of people passing by looked at the girl, then quickly walked faster as if afraid to be near her. This wasn't normal. Something was wrong. Evan returned his attention to the girl. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she whispered. "That's a beautiful name," Evan said gently. "Lyra, where is your home? Do you have someone to stay with?" She shook her head with slow, miserable movements. "No home anymore. They took our house last night. They said we don't belong." Her voice trembled harder. "My mother tried to tell them the truth, but they didn't listen. They made her leave. And this morning, she couldn't breathe. She died before sunrise." Evan felt the weight of every word. He placed his bag of coins on the ground and sat beside her, not too close, but close enough that she knew she wasn't alone. "Lyra," he said quietly, "who made you leave your home?" She looked toward the mountains at the edge of the valley. Fear flashed across her face. "The Enforcer," she whispered. Evan had heard of the Enforcer. Everyone had. A powerful alien officer who controlled rules, territory, and punishment. No one crossed him. No one questioned him. And no one ever talked about him with anything except fear. "What did your mother say before she—" Evan swallowed softly. "Before she passed?" Lyra wiped her eyes with shaking hands. "She told me to find a human." She looked at Evan, her voice barely a breath. She said humans don't fear the enforcer. She said a human would listen. Evan felt a cold chill run down his spine. Why would an alien mother trust him? Why would she think humans could help? Before he could ask, Lyra reached into her torn dress and pulled out a small crystal pendant. It was cracked at the edges, faintly glowing. She placed it carefully in Evan's hand. The moment his skin touched it, the crystal pulsed with bright light. The entire marketplace went silent. Every trader, buyer, and guard looked at Evan with wide eyes. Some gasped. A few stepped back. One man dropped a basket of fruit in shock. Evan stared at the pendant, stunned. He had never seen anything like it. Lyra whispered. My mother said, if a human touches it, it will show the truth. Evan didn't understand. But he knew one thing. This girl was in danger. Real danger. In the way everyone was acting, he wasn't sure he could walk away anymore. Because the moment that pendant lit up, Evan and Lyra were no longer alone in their secret. And something or someone was coming for her. Evan kept staring at the glowing crystal pendant in his hand. The soft light pulsed like a heartbeat, warm against his skin. Lyra waited silently beside him, her small hands clenched together, her eyes still wet but focused on him. Around them, the marketplace had gone completely quiet. Not a single alien dared speak. It was as if the entire place was holding its breath. Evan lowered his voice. Lyra, what is this? Why did it react to me? She swallowed hard. My mother said this crystal carries truth. It can show what really happened. She looked down at her feet. But only a human can unlock it. Our people. We cannot. Evan frowned, confused but unable to ignore the fear in her voice. Show what? He asked. Lyra looked toward the mountains again, her face tightening with fear. Show what the enforcer did, she whispered. Evan's heart beat faster. He leaned closer. Did to who? To my father, she said, her voice breaking. And to my mother. Evan felt a heavy pressure on his chest. He wanted to say something comforting, but for a moment he had no words. Before he could find any, the crystal flickered again, brighter this time, and a soft humming vibration moved through his palm. Lyra gasped. It's waking up again. Because someone is near. Evan quickly looked around, but he saw no soldiers, no enforcer, nothing unusual. Only nervous traders avoiding eye contact. It felt like standing in a storm before the first strike of lightning. Who's near? He asked. Lyra shook her head. I don't know. But the crystal reacts when danger comes close. Evan closed his fist gently around the pendant and stood up. We need to move somewhere safe. Lyra nodded and wiped her face with the back of her hand. She stood, but her legs trembled. Evan offered his hand. She hesitated, then slowly placed her small fingers in his. It was a simple gesture, but it carried a deep message. She trusted him. They walked between the market stalls, staying close to walls, avoiding open spaces. Evan kept his eyes sharp, scanning for anyone suspicious. But the strangest thing was how people reacted. The aliens stepped away from them, some even backing into their shops. A few whispered to each other, terrified. It was not Lyra they feared. It was the crystal, or the truth it carried. When they reached the quieter side of the market, Lyra finally spoke again. My mother told me everything last night, she said softly. She was scared. She said the enforcer found out she knew the truth. Evan slowed his steps. What truth, Lyra? Lyra took a shaky breath. The enforcer killed my father. The words hit Evan harder than he expected. Killed him, why? He tried to stop something, Lyra whispered, her eyes filling with tears again. My father worked near the mountains. He saw something he wasn't supposed to see. Something the enforcer was hiding. My father wanted to tell the village. He tried. Her voice trembled. And he never came home. Evan clenched his jaw. And your mother? She searched for answers, Lyra said. She went to people. She asked questions. She tried to warn others. And the enforcer warned her to stop asking. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. Last night, soldiers came to our house. They forced us out. They said she broke the law. They pushed her into the cold. She couldn't breathe. She got weaker and weaker. Evan felt anger rise inside him, not wild anger, but cold anger. The kind that makes a man ready to stand firm, even when afraid. Lyra, he said softly, why did your mother tell you to find a human? Lyra looked directly into his eyes for the first time since meeting him. Her voice was small but certain. Because humans don't follow the enforcer's rules. Humans don't worship him. Humans don't fear him. Evan stared at her. He wasn't brave. He wasn't strong. He was only a farmer who wanted a cow. But he could not walk away now, before he could speak. The crystal burned bright again, so bright Evan had to shield his eyes. Lyra grabbed his arm. He's getting closer. We have to go. Evan pulled her behind a stone wall, just as a loud metallic sound echoed through the market. Heavy footsteps, slow, powerful. The crowd parted like a river. Splitting around a rock, the enforcer had arrived. His armor reflected the sun, and his 4 crimson eyes scanned the stalls. Soldiers followed behind him, weapons ready. He stopped in the center of the market and shouted, his voice shaking the ground, "Bring me the child, now." Lyra squeezed Evan's hand, and Evan realized there was no turning back. The ground seemed to tremble under the enforcer's heavy steps. His armor was dark metal with red markings, glowing like heated iron. Every creature in the marketplace lowered their heads as he walked past. No one dared breathe loudly. No one dared look at him directly. Even the wind felt silent, as if afraid to disturb him. Evan kept Lyra hidden behind the stone wall, pressing a finger to his lips. Lyra nodded, though her trembling hands showed how close she was to crying again. Evan placed the glowing crystal pendant inside his pocket, hiding the light with both hands. The enforcer stopped near the center of the market. He lifted his broad chin and scanned the area with 4 crimson eyes that moved independently. Soldiers stood behind him like dark shadows. His voice thundered across the open space. Bring me the child. Bring me the girl named Lyra. No one moved. No one answered. A nearby merchant trembled so hard that a basket of fruit slipped from his hands, rolling across the ground. The enforcer turned toward the sound, and the merchant nearly fainted. Evan felt Lyra grip his sleeve so tightly that her nails dug into the fabric. He knows I'm close, she whispered, barely a breath. Evan leaned closer. Stay calm. We'll think of something. But thinking felt impossible. The enforcer was too powerful. His soldiers were too fast. And Evan had nothing but the clothes he wore, a bag of coins, and a frightened child at his side. The enforcer raised one of his hands. A long, sharp blade folded out from his gauntlet, gleaming. If the child is not brought to me, he announced, this market will suffer for hiding her. Evan's stomach twisted. The merchants weren't helping Lyra because they wanted to, they were staying silent because they feared being punished. The enforcer controlled them. Their fear was stronger than their kindness. Suddenly, one of the soldiers spoke to the enforcer. Sir, the crystal has awakened. The enforcer stopped moving. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. A human touched it. Evan felt a cold shock move through him. How did they know? How could they sense it from this far? Lyra squeezed Evan's arm again. He will kill a human who holds it, she whispered, her eyes wide with terror. He thinks only humans can expose the truth. Evan swallowed. He didn't know much about alien politics or ancient crystals, but he knew a predator when he saw one. And the enforcer was not just a leader, he was a hunter. The enforcer lifted his blade and pointed it toward the stalls. Search every corner. and find the human who carries the crystal." The soldiers spread out instantly. Evan pulled Lyra behind him and moved deeper into the narrow alley between abandoned crates and half-broken stalls. He walked fast but quiet, holding Lyra's hand tightly. Behind them, the sound of metal boots grew louder. Soldiers were getting closer. "Evan," Lyra said in a trembling voice, "you don't have to help me. You can leave me and run." Evan stopped moving and looked at her, shocked. "What? Why would you say that?" "You're a stranger," she whispered. "You owe me nothing. If they catch you with me, they'll kill you." Evan shook his head. "Lyra, listen. No child should face this alone. And I'm not leaving you." Her eyes filled again, but this time the tears were different, not fear, but something close to trust. Evan took a deep breath. "We need to get out of the market. Do you know any safe place? Anywhere?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "There's a small path behind the old livestock sheds. My mother took me there once. It leads to the far fields." "Good," Evan said. "Lead the way." But just as they turned the corner, a soldier appeared at the end of the alley, blocking the exit. His weapon pointed directly at them. Evan froze. Lyra gasped. The soldier's voice was cold. "You, human, step forward slowly." Evan's heart pounded. He raised his hands, keeping his body between the soldier and Lyra. The soldier stepped closer, but before he reached them, a loud crack echoed through the market, something metal breaking, followed by shouting. The soldier turned his head for a moment. That was enough. Evan grabbed Lyra's hand and ran past him at full speed. The soldier yelled and chased after them, but Evan's footsteps were faster. He wasn't strong. He wasn't trained. But fear made him run like never before. They reached the livestock sheds, Lyra guiding the way. She led him through a narrow gap between old walls. And suddenly the marketplace noise faded behind them. Open land stretched ahead, fields, broken fences, and endless grass. Evan didn't stop running. Behind them, the enforcer roared, "Human, I will find you, and I will take the child." Lyra stumbled, but Evan caught her. He tightened his grip. "We keep going," he said breathlessly. "We don't stop." And together, with soldiers chasing behind and danger growing with every step, they ran toward the unknown, because stopping meant death. Evan and Lyra ran until the sounds of the market faded behind them. The field stretched wide and empty, with tall dry grass waving weakly in the wind. Broken fences lay scattered across the ground, and abandoned tools rusted in the dirt. It was a lonely place, too open, too quiet, but right now it was their only chance. Lyra's small legs struggled to keep up, but she did not let go of Evan's hand. Her breaths came fast and sharp, but she pushed herself forward, her eyes filled with fear and determination. Evan slowed just enough to match her pace, guiding her around large stones and fallen posts. Behind them, faint shouts of soldiers echoed through the air. "He's sending them to the fields," Lyra whispered between breaths. "He doesn't stop once he starts hunting." Evan looked back. Dust rose in the distance. The soldiers were spreading out like wolves looking for tracks. "Are there more hiding places ahead?" Evan asked. "Yes," Lyra said. "Near the old water mill." Evan nodded, even though he had no idea where that was. He trusted her more than the empty land around them. They ran until they reached a small hill. Evan helped Lyra climb it carefully, but halfway up she slipped, falling to her knees. Evan instantly knelt beside her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, trying to stand again despite shaking legs. But as she pushed herself up, Evan noticed something. Her dress was torn badly around her ankle, and a deep cut bled through the fabric. "Lyra, you're injured," Evan said softly. "It doesn't matter," she replied quickly. "We have to keep going. If the enforcer finds us, we will keep going," Evan said firmly. "But I'm not letting you collapse." He tore a strip from his sleeve and tied it around her ankle gently, stopping the bleeding. Lyra watched him with wide eyes, surprised by how carefully he moved. "No one has ever helped me like this," she said quietly. Evan gave a small, sad smile. "Then you've been around the wrong people." A tear slipped down her cheek, but she wiped it quickly. They stood again, and Evan lifted her onto his back. Lyra gasped softly at the sudden action. "Hold on tight," he said. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders. Evan carried her up the hill, step by step. The wind pushed against him, but he kept going, his boots crunching on the dry earth. When they reached the top, he looked down the other side. The field stretched even farther, long strips of land cut by old irrigation trenches. And far, far ahead stood a wooden structure with a broken wheel just barely visible. "That's the water mill?" Evan asked. Lyra nodded. "If we reach it, there's a hidden crawl space under the floorboards. My father showed it to me once. Then that's where we're going." Evan adjusted his grip and started down the hill. But halfway down, he heard the metallic hum of an engine. One of the Enforcer's scouts flying low, scanning the land. Evan ducked behind the fallen tree. The vehicle passed overhead, its blue spotlight sweeping across the grass. Lyra held her breath, burying her face in Evan's shoulder. He stayed perfectly still. The light passed them by, but the danger wasn't over. The vehicle looped around for a second sweep. "We have to move," Evan whispered urgently. He pulled Lyra onto her feet again, and they ran toward a cluster of shrubs. The spotlight came too close. It brushed the grass near their legs. They froze behind a thick bush, hearts pounding. The vehicle finally drifted away. Lyra let out a shaky breath. "He won't stop. He'll search every inch." Evan looked toward the mill. "Then we'll get there before he does." They started moving again, faster now. Evan carried Lyra whenever her legs shook, and she guided him with whispers left around a ditch right near a fallen tree. Straight toward the old wheel. When they reached the mill, the ancient wood creaked under their weight. Evan pushed open the half-broken door, and dust filled the air. "Where's the hiding place?" he asked. Lyra pointed to a corner. "Under the wooden boards." Evan knelt and pulled at the boards. They lifted with a loud crack. Beneath them was a dark space barely big enough for two people, a perfect hiding spot. But before they could climb in, a loud roar shattered the quiet air. The Enforcer's voice. He was closer now, much closer. "Human. Child, you can run to the ends of this valley, but you will not escape me." Evan felt Lyra clutch his arm. He pulled her into the crawl space, lowered the boards, and held her close in the darkness. Outside, heavy footsteps approached the mill. The hunter had arrived in the fields, and the game of survival had truly begun. The wooden boards above Evan and Lyra shook as the Enforcer's heavy steps echoed through the abandoned mill. Dust rained down on them in soft clouds. Evan held Lyra close, one arm wrapped around her trembling shoulders. The other hand pressed over her mouth gently, not to silence her, but to help her breathe quietly. Every breath felt too loud in the tiny dark space beneath the floorboards. Outside, the Enforcer's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "They are here. I can smell the crystal's energy." Lyra froze. Evan felt her tiny fingers clutch his shirt tightly. The Enforcer walked slowly, each footstep heavy with power. Wood creaked above them. The floor vibrated. Evan pressed himself flatter against the cold earth, trying to cover Lyra as much as he could. A soldier spoke, voice fearful. "Sir, the tracks end near this old mill. They must be hiding inside." "Search it," the Enforcer ordered. Boots stomped above them. Something metal scraped across the floor. Boxes were kicked aside. The soldiers were thorough. Too thorough. Evan moved his lips near Lyra's ear. "Stay still. No matter what." Lyra nodded silently, but her body trembled as the footsteps came closer. Suddenly, the Enforcer stopped right above their hiding spot. The wood groaned under his weight. Evan held his breath. Lyra's fingers dug deeper into his shirt. The enforcer's step shifted, and the shadow of his armor darkened the cracks of the floorboards. For a moment, Evan thought it was over, but then a loud scream echoed from outside the mill. A panicked merchant's voice yelled that the enforcer's transport was being attacked by wild animals. It was a lie, but the enforcer didn't know that. "Stay alert," he ordered. "I will check." He stomped out of the mill, followed by half of his soldiers. Their feet pounded the ground as they left. Finally, silence returned. Evan waited. 10 seconds. 20, 30. Only when he was sure the danger had moved away did he gently lift the boards. He peeked out. No soldiers. No enforcer. Just dust swirling in the light of the broken window. Evan exhaled shakily. "We're moving." Lyra crawled out, her face pale. "Where do we go now?" "Somewhere safer. Somewhere he won't expect." Evan stood and wiped dust off his arms. "We can't stay in open fields." Lyra bit her lip. "There's an old barn near the far side of the valley. My father used to take me there. It's Forbidden's land now, but no one goes there." "Forbidden's?" Evan asked. "Why?" "Because of an accident with alien machines," she whispered. "It was closed long ago. But my father said something is hidden there. Something important." Evan didn't like the sound of that, but they had no better option. They moved quickly, staying close to bushes and old stone walls for cover. The sun dipped lower behind the mountains, turning the sky orange. Shadows grew longer, darker. The enforcer would soon grow more desperate. After nearly an hour of walking, the barn finally came into view. It was large and old, made of dark wood, with broken boards and hanging doors. Tall grass surrounded it like a protective curtain. Evan approached cautiously. "Looks abandoned." "That's why it's safe," Lyra whispered. They entered through a side door, the hinges groaning. Inside, the barn smelled of dust, old hay, and metal. Broken tools lay scattered across the floor. But in the far corner, hidden under piles of hay, something caught Lyra's attention. She walked toward it and knelt. "Help me lift this." Evan moved the dry hay aside and froze. Beneath the hay was a strange machine, metallic, covered in alien markings. About the size of a large chest. It looked old but powerful, like something forgotten by time. Lyra touched the machine gently. "My father found this years ago. He said it was the reason the land was closed. He didn't tell anyone, except my mother." Evan ran his fingers over the strange symbols. "What does it do?" "I don't know," Lyra said. "But my mother told me. If the enforcer finds it, he will destroy everything." Before Evan could respond, the machine lit up. Soft blue lines spread across its surface like waking veins. A humming vibration rippled through the air. The barn grew brighter. Then, suddenly, a hologram flickered above the machine. A woman appeared. Tall, gentle, silver skin-like. "Lyra." Her face was tired but warm. Lyra gasped. "Mother." The hologram spoke. "If you are seeing this, I am gone, and the enforcer has crossed the final line." Evan stared. Lyra's hands covered her mouth. The hologram continued, voice full of sadness. "Lyra, my child, run from him. He killed your father, and he will kill you too." As the hologram faded, a loud snapping sound came from outside. Branches breaking. Footsteps. The enforcer had found the barn. And there was no more time to hide. Asterisk. The barn grew painfully silent after the hologram disappeared. Only the soft humming of the strange machine remained, glowing gently in the dim light. Lyra stood frozen, staring at the spot where her mother's image had been just moments before. Her small shoulders shook, but she did not cry this time. Her eyes held something stronger, now something heavier. A truth too big for a child, Evan stepped closer and placed a hand on her back. "Lyra, I'm so sorry." Lyra breathed shakily. She knew it. She knew she would die. She knew he would come. Evan nodded softly. "But she left a message. She wanted you to live." Before Lyra could reply, a sharp crack echoed outside the barn twigs, snapping under heavy boots. Evan went still. The enforcer's voice followed, low and calm in a terrifying way. "The machine has awakened. They are inside." Lyra grabbed Evan's arm. "He's here. We have to hide." "No," Evan whispered, scanning the barn quickly. "There's no time. We need something else. Something to stop him." Lyra looked at the glowing machine. "My father said this could show the truth. Maybe it can protect us." Evan wasn't sure, but they had no choice. Soldiers were already fanning out around the barn. Their shadows passed the broken windows like dark ghosts. "Touch it again," Lyra whispered. "Humans, activate it." Evan placed his palm on the glowing surface. Instantly, the machine flared with brilliant blue light, spreading across the barn walls like a ripple of energy. A second hologram burst from the machine, this time larger. More detailed. It showed Lyra's father standing in a rocky mountain area. He held a small device and pointed to a group of frightened alien families shackled together. Behind them, the enforcer stood in full armor, overseeing the scene. Evan's heart dropped. Lyra watched, trembling. He was selling them. "My father said he caught the enforcer trading families to off-world buyers." The hologram played on. Her father shouted, "This is illegal. You can't sell people." The enforcer responded with a cold voice, "I decide what is legal." Then the hologram showed the moment Lyra had never seen before, the enforcer lifting his arm and striking her father down with a single blow of his weapon. Lyra covered her mouth with both hands as a small cry escaped her throat. Evan felt anger burn inside him, so hot it made his hands shake. Before the hologram ended, Lyra's mother appeared again, recorded separately. Her voice was stronger this time. "To anyone who sees this, the enforcer runs a secret trade. Families disappear every month. He silences anyone who questions him. He killed my husband, and he will come for me. Save my daughter, please." The recording faded. Silence settled over the barn like a heavy blanket. Then, boom, the barn door burst open. The enforcer stepped inside. Armored and furious, soldiers behind him. His 4 crimson eyes burned as he saw the glowing machine. His voice roared across the barn. "You dare expose me?" Evan stepped in front of Lyra instinctively. "It's over. People will know the truth." The enforcer laughed, a deep, metallic sound that echoed through the beams. "Truth? No one will believe a human or a child. I will destroy the machine. And both of you." Lyra clutched Evan's shirt tightly. Evan pushed her behind a stack of crates. The enforcer stepped forward and raised his weapon. "Give me the girl, human. You cannot fight me." Evan felt fear, but he did not step back. "You killed her father. You killed her mother. I won't let you take her." The enforcer tilted his head. "Then die with her." He fired. A beam of red energy shot toward Evan. Lyra screamed, but the machine reacted first. A burst of blue light exploded outward, forming a protective shield around Evan and Lyra. The red beam bounced off, burning a hole through the barn wall instead. The enforcer staggered back. "Impossible!" Lyra gasped. "The machine is protecting us." Evan grabbed the pendant from his pocket. As soon as he held it up, the machine responded even stronger. Blue energy swirled around him, wrapping his body like armor made of pure light. The soldiers stepped back in fear. The enforcer roared, "Destroy them!" He rushed forward, but the blue shield pushed him back like a powerful storm wind. The barn trembled. Hay flew everywhere. Wooden beams cracked. Evan felt the energy rising around him. The truth, the machine, the pendant, all connected. He lifted the glowing crystal higher. "You can't hide anymore," Evan said, voice strong and steady. "Your crimes end today." The enforcer snarled and charged again. But the machine unleashed a shockwave so strong that even the barn doors blew off their hinges. Lyra held Evan's hand, eyes wide with hope, for the first time. The enforcer looked afraid. The shockwave from the machine blew through the barn like a storm, sending hay, dust, and splintered wood flying in every direction. The enforcer slid backward, his metal boots digging into the dirt as he struggled to stay balanced. His soldiers were knocked completely off their feet, crashing against the barn walls with cries of panic. Lyra clung to Evan as the blue energy around them pulsed brighter, forming a protective sphere that shimmered like living light. Evan could feel the power flowing through him, warm and steady, as if the crystal pendant had awakened something hidden inside him. The enforcer finally steadied himself. He lifted his head slowly, all four of his crimson eyes burning with rage. "Human," he growled, "you don't understand what you're touching. That machine is Forbidden's technology. You are too weak to control it." Evan stared back, breathing hard but standing tall. "Weak or not, you're not taking her." The enforcer's face twisted with fury. He charged again, faster this time, swinging his blade with a roar. The energy shield blocked the strike, sending sparks flying. The enforcer tried again and again, each blow stronger than the last, but the shield held firm, pulsing with every impact. Lyra watched, eyes wide. "Evan, the machine is listening to you. It reacts to your voice." Evan tightened his grip on the crystal pendant, feeling it burn in his hand like a heartbeat matching his own. "Then we make it hear the truth." The machine hummed louder, and suddenly another hologram appeared, this one massive, covering the entire barn. The projection showed alien families locked in cages, crying children, desperate mothers. It showed the enforcer selling them to shadowy buyers, speaking with cold confidence. Every secret, every crime, every hidden act was exposed in bright, undeniable light. The soldiers stared in shock. Some stepped away in fear. Others dropped their weapons. "No! No!" the enforcer shouted. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But the machine refused to obey him. "It only obeys truth," Lyra whispered. The hologram shifted again, showing Lyra's father standing bravely in front of the enforcer, shouting at him, refusing to move. Then the moment the enforcer killed him, everyone in the barn froze. Evan felt Lyra trembling against him. Her tears fell, but this time not from fear, this time from final understanding. Her father's voice echoed across the barn through the recording. "If you see this, don't be afraid of him. He cannot defeat the truth." The enforcer let out a furious scream and charged again, trying to strike the machine itself. But the moment his blade touched the glowing metal, a blast of blue energy shot through him, throwing him backward across the barn. His armor cracked. His weapon sparked USELESSOY. For the first time, the enforcer struggled to stand. He looked smaller now, not a monster, not a ruler, just a creature exposed. Evan stepped forward, his voice steady. "It's over." But the enforcer clenched his teeth and growled, "No. It's not over until she is dead." He lunged one last time, but he was too slow. Lyra stepped out from behind Evan, her small hand reaching toward the machine. "Enough," she said softly. "My mother is gone. My father is gone. You ruined everything." The machine responded instantly. A column of blue light shot upward, surrounding both Lyra and the enforcer. The enforcer froze mid-step, trapped in the beam like an insect caught in ice. His limbs stiffened. His armor cracked again. What is happening?" he gasped. Lyra stood with tears streaming down her face. "This is the truth you tried to bury. The beam grew brighter, the enforcer dropped to his knees, and then the light vanished, leaving him unconscious on the ground. Defeated but alive, Evan rushed to Lyra and pulled her into a hug. "You did it," he whispered. She sobbed into his chest. "I just want it to stop." The soldiers slowly approached, all of them silent, staring at the fallen enforcer. None tried to help him. None tried to defend him. Instead, one of them spoke softly. "The child speaks truth. The machine has revealed everything. We will take him into custody." Evan nodded. His breath finally loosened in his chest. Lyra looked up at him. "What happens now?" He smiled gently. "Now, you're safe." When they left the barn, the sun was rising over the valley. Warm light touched the fields, washing away the night's terror. Lyra stood at the edge of the hill, watching the sky brighten. Evan stood beside her, hands resting on her shoulders. "You came to buy a cow." Lyra whispered, voice soft but filled with hope. "But you saved my whole life." Evan placed the crystal pendant around her neck. "Keep this. It's your proof. Your strength." Lyra nodded, wiping her tears. "I'll never forget you." Evan smiled. "And you'll never be alone again." The valley felt different, now lighter, safer. Honest Dot and the legend spread far and wide. The human farmer who stopped the enforcer and saved an alien child because he refused to walk away.